Hey, Dr. Winters, this is Kyla Patterson, and this is my article for Debrief over 13 rules that expire. And actually, the first quote that I used, overgeneralizing common accepted strategies, using imprecise vocabulary, and relying on tips and tricks that do not promote conceptual mathematical understanding can lead to misunderstanding later in students' math careers. Sorry, they're mowing outside. I just really love this quote because I feel like I can relate to it on so many ways, especially going through this class as we've progressed along. I feel like so many rules that I use, and I have heard of all of the rules that I read in this article, and I still feel like I use some of them and they don't always work. So, and I just feel like that it's true that it kind of creates a weaker mindset in math, or maybe a weaker foundation if we don't fully understand a certain, whether it's adding or subtraction or whatever it is. So I just think that is really awesome, and so many of these rules I have marked and for future use to work on not doing that. So sorry, I thought I ended it. Okay, so my second quote actually came from one of the rules, which it was the first one, which is funny. When you multiply a number by 10, just add a 0 to the end of the number. Okay, so this is something that I do all the time, and it's something my mom taught me to do, I think in 4th grade. Was if I had a 10 or 100 or 1000, whatever, you name it, we just add the zeros at the end. And typically it works. And actually, in my tutoring, we were multiplying by maybe 1,000 or 1,000,000 or something, and I almost mentioned it, and then I thought, I bet there's a misconception in that, or that there's some way that doesn't work, and I didn't think about decimals at the time. But reading through that, I was like, yay, I did something right. I didn't share my poor knowledge with my kid. And so, anyways, I just thought that was so good and such a good reminder that it doesn't work with decimals. And also am excited that I didn't share that bit of knowledge, and I will be very intentional to not do that, and I can keep it to myself. I feel like I'm unlearning so much stuff in class and rebuilding my mind very quickly. I'm like going K through 12 in this classroom, and which is good. It's awesome. It is just stretching my mind. So thank you. I think that I love that rule. Anyways, okay. Okay, so my final quote actually comes out of Table 1 on 23, the expired mathematical language and suggested alternatives. And fractions are something I feel like they're hard to teach, like the other article talked about. And also, I am trying my best to teach them in my tutor sessions right now because he is kind of in fractions, not totally, but somewhat, and we're reviewing them and what fractions are larger or smaller. And I do feel like some part of my misunderstanding of fractions is because of this very thing. So usually you hear using the phrase like 1 out of 7 to describe a fraction is confusing. So, and what I like about the alternative language, use the fraction and the attribute. For example, say 1/7 of the length of the string, or 1/7 of the whole, which I'm really working on using with the little guy that I tutor, because it makes way more sense in my brain, and I think he is picking it up slowly. It says the out of language often causes students to think a part is being subtracted, which when I think about this, and I think when I say, 1 out of 7 or 2 out of 7, I immediately subtract. And I was like, that's totally what I'm doing, and it is confusing. And I think that is why measuring can be confusing, and figuring out which fraction is larger or smaller can be confusing. So anyways, and it says, yes, that the out of language is being subtracted from the whole amount. So I really like the use the fraction and the attribute. So the 1/7 of the length of the string. And that's something I'm really working on, and I'm going to continue to work on using that in my language intentionally. And so that's my last quote. I thought these rules were awesome. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to keep all the articles. But I really like this one because I think it sheds some light on so many things I think we do, not intentionally to confuse our kids later on, but just to even help us teach, or even just to help us recall, or tips or tricks or whatever. But this was really valuable, and so thanks for that. Okay, so that's the end of Article 4. It was great. Thank you.